Hello everyone, welcome back to Dreamscape Automotive again for another video. So this time you join me in my living room. So it's going to be a very different video this time. This is a video that was requested in some of the comments and a lot of the vlogs that I've been posting recently from a really unbelievable Euro trip that we went on in the hero car for the channel, the A45S AMG. So me and my best mate Liam, we started the journey up here in Scotland. We headed down through the whole of England, through the Eurotunnel, and we went to some of the most amazing locations in Europe. So a lot of these trips are a bit dubious. You're not really sure how much it costs. You don't know how stressful it was there any unexpected stuff happening? So that's what this video is for. So we're going to do a full recap of the trip. We're going to go over everything that I found, felt. Did it go to plan? Would I recommend it? What does the future look like of this type of content on this channel? Because it certainly isn't going to be the end of it, that's for sure. So let's dive in to the fine details of the Euro trip. We'll cover everything from cradle to grave so that if you're going on a Euro trip, you can check out this video and you can see what you think. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying if this is your first video on the channel, you've just found it, you've just clicked on the channel, then please go back, watch all my vlogs, watch all the content on the channel, and if you like it, hit subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. I'm open to suggestions on the channel. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to walk through each day of the journey together. We'll talk through where we went, how we got there, what the journey was like. We're going to cover the car preparation for the journey. We're going to cover unexpected things that happened. We're going to cover the costs, which is going to be like hotel, fuel, preparation for the car, food, drink, all that stuff. We're going to cover hidden costs, because you know that there was hidden costs. We're going to cover the police rules in all these different countries. And we're going to cover, as I mentioned in the start of this video, what does the future look like for this type of content on Dreamscape Automotive. As you can see behind me, there is a vlog on the screen right now. That is the one from Monaco. I just put it on in the background because I thought, well, better to have something on there than not, right? So let's start with the first bit of the journey. So we drove from Glasgow, where we stay, all the way to Bedford. And in Bedford, there is a garage called PCW Exhaust. So we had heard the PCW Exhaust from various different people on YouTube, Officially Gassed being one of them. And we wanted to go and get the PCW exhaust mod. So we went there, we got the PCW exhaust mod done, it's in the vlog. Here's some results of that. I'm going to cut to a clip of the exhaust now. Hey, I know it's dark in here, but we may as well take advantage of any tunnel opportunity that we've got. Pop, pop, bang. And honestly, that part of the journey was amazing. It transformed the car. It gave us an opportunity for a bit of content, you know, on the first part of the journey. On a normally mundane drive from Glasgow all the way to the Eurotunnel, stopping off in Bedford for that was great. Thank you to Paul from PCW Exhaust for getting us in relatively short notice and getting the job done. So, as I said, it's transformed the car. All of the vlogs are full of pops and bangs now. The A45S has been woken up. We went then from Bedford to the Eurotunnel. It was a long day of driving, but the exhaust stop broke it up, which was great. And even after some abuse on the car, let's see our launch control. The day was still fantastic and the car survived fine all the way to the Eurotunnel. One thing I want to point out when you're venturing beyond London towards the Eurotunnel, if anyone in Scotland or Northern England is doing it, watch out for the Dartford crossing, because we didn't realise if you don't pay it, you'll get a fine. We didn't pay it and we're waiting on the fine coming through. It's only £2.50. When you cross the Dartford crossing, make sure you go on the government website and you pay it. So as I said, we get caught out with this and we are waiting on the fine coming through. So we were safely at the Eurotunnel. It took us about 14 hours of driving from leaving in the morning, but obviously we stopped off in Bedford to get the exhaust done. So, as a first time experience as an adult, the Eurotunnel was absolutely excellent. I done it as a kid on a bus when I was really young, but I had next to no memory of it. So doing it in my own car, on my own Euro trip, was a fantastic experience. A hot tip for anyone who is driving into the Eurotunnel, onto the train carriage with a lowered / kind of modified car that's maybe a bit wider and a bit lower, phone ahead to Le Châtel and ask them to put you on a wide and tall carriage, which is where all the camper vans and the lorries and whatnot go. You will benefit from it, trust me. We managed to do that on the way down and it was no problem. We're just going to cut to a clip now of us driving the car on the Eurotunnel.
This is it, bro, this is it. Oh.
Not only was it taller and wider, but you didn't have to navigate any horrible ramps. They take you on flat, no worries about the splitter or anything like that on the car. On the way back, unfortunately, we didn't know our departure time on the way back too early because we didn't know how long it was going to take us to get back through France. So we booked our Eurotunnel last minute. When we booked it, the office was closed and we had to go to the Eurotunnel and worry about going back on, going on a small carriage basically. And when we got there, we could see people going up and down ramps. It was pretty scary. Luckily, as soon as we went to drive on, the absolute gem of a woman that works in the loading team there recognised that we were worried about the car, and she obviously seen that it was too low, and she took us out the other side of that train and sent us up to the big one. So, second time round, we didn't pay for it, but the guardian angel was watching the A45 and they got us on the tall and wide one. So thank you so much to the shuttle loading team for doing that for us. So we slept in Calais for the evening. Nothing really to report about Calais. It was okay. Just a kind of depot for the Eurotunnel in my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then we set off for Amsterdam. So very pleasurable drive through Ghent and Brussels. We did do a lot of vlogging in Brussels. Absolutely beautiful place. Both places were really easy to park in. No real issues with underground parking or anything like that. I am super paranoid about underground parking, and it was okay. I'm going to cut to a clip now of what the underground car park looked like so you get an idea. Right, I'm happy now. We're nice and flat. That was so paranoid. So Amsterdam city centre then, this is a place that me and Liam had frequented for a long time when we were young, going to raves and festivals and whatnot, but we had never driven a car. And when they say there's more mopeds and bikes than there is people, they were not wrong. Every single time you turn your head, there's a moped, there's a bike, there's a person, there's just something in your field of vision. I felt like a Formula 1 driver trying to focus. But even though there were loads of people on mopeds and bikes, they all seem to know where they're going and what they're doing. So as long as they know they're not going to hit you and you don't do any erratic movements, just you drive and you should be fine. We had honestly some close calls, but these guys and girls on these bikes are pretty skilled. What I will say is Amsterdam is not a place where hotels in the city centre have got parking, so make sure when you're booking to go on a car Euro trip that you book a hotel that has parking. We booked the Postillion Hotel in Amsterdam, which was fantastic. It was just outside the city centre, no more than 15 minutes in an Uber to get into the city centre, but it had the best underground parking ever. So the Dutch motorways then, Dutch motorways felt very, very similar to UK motorways, just with way more respect. There's a lot of this going on in Europe, and I'll talk about it more as I go through, but the people just seem to take more care on the motorway. If you've got a different experience, let me know, but I felt that the Dutch motorways were really, really good. And the weirdest part of this for me was driving on the streets that I have walked after a few jars many times in my life to go to a festival and back, and I started to see things that I had never seen when I was on that type of trip. So it really was a great experience, and I would recommend going to Amsterdam. Just make sure you get underground parking. Next morning then, we woke up in Amsterdam and we headed for the Nürburgring. Again, another whole vlog for that. So it's been a wish of mine and Liam's for a long time to actually get to go and experience the Nürburgring. Now, we didn't go on a race weekend, we didn't go on an event weekend, we kind of wanted to stay away from all that type of stuff, and we just went when it was quiet, a time where we could explore and we could do our own thing without worrying about the car getting damaged or ticket prices or anyone, you know, being too busy and you can't get parked. So that's what we done. So on the way to the Nürburgring, obviously we experienced some autobahns, right? So I want to take a special bit of time in this vlog to talk about autobahns, right? Obviously I had heard and I knew about autobahns before I went. Everybody's a bit intrigued about the no restriction on speed limit, but it's not quite what it's made out to be in some cases. So when you go there and you're wanting to do top speed in your car, which I know all of you do, look for this sign. I'm going to cut to a clip now of this sign. This is the sign that means unrestricted. Now, it is quite confusing. I spent quite a bit of time on Google checking what the restrictions and not restriction signs were. You just have to be watching what you're doing, because you can be in an unrestricted area and you can be flying down that outside lane, and then all of a sudden the speed changes from 120 down to 120 down to 90. There's a slip road, there's lots of cars coming on, and then they speed you back up again. So you just have to be very, 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 very vigilant about what people are doing on the motorway. Now, the one thing that we did notice in Germany is the drivers are unbelievably good. Anyone else that's driven on a German motorway will probably be able to corroborate that statement, but honestly, it's as if the way they get taught how to drive is just vastly different and vastly better than anyone else in the world. We were at some stages doing, you know, 150, 160 miles per hour on the outside lane, and everyone is leaving so much distance. I'm going to cut to a clip now of us doing a pretty fast speed in the A45S on the Autobahn. And then the fun that we had in the Autobahn was excellent. You know, it's unmatched. You do have to concentrate, you have to know what you're doing, you have to feel comfortable driving at those speeds. Obviously we weren't driving at those speeds for a long time, but what I will say is we went through 3 tanks of fuel in Germany. When you're driving at those speeds, even 100, 110, 120, the car was drinking petrol. But anyway, still had fun. Still very good. Once we arrived at the Nürburgring, we decided to do a bit of sightseeing. We weren't obviously going to take the car on the Nürburgring. It was raining that day as well. So we decided to get some tickets for the grandstand, which I'll cut to a clip of now. The grandstand was definitely well worth it. €2.50 per person to get into the grandstand, and we were watching all the passenger laps, post 911s, all sorts of different cars flying around the track. As I said, it was raining. Some of these guys have got balls of steel because they were still flying down the straight in the pouring rain. But it was definitely well worth it. Now, we decided to go to the museum at the Nürburgring because we were there, and why would you not, right? It was €16.50 per head, but what I will say is, if you go back and you watch the vlog of the Nürburgring Museum, you will share my enthusiasm around what they have in there and how good that experience was. So if you go to the Nürburgring, definitely go on the grandstand and definitely go to the museum. We obviously didn't want to leave the Nürburgring without seeing the green hell, as it is known, because little did I know when I got there, the Nürburgring's actually split into 2 different tracks. There's the Grand Prix track, which is the modern one, and then there is the green hell, which is the one that was initially built in 1920s. It has obviously been developed since, and if any of you have watched the movie about Niki Lauda and Damon Hill, you will see that in the film. And when you're there, you can see why the F1 drivers don't want to use it anymore. It just feels pretty dangerous, but as a petrol head, it is definitely worth going to see. We did manage to get the drone up, and we did manage to get some shots of the green hell, so I'll put that clip in now. Okay, so the last thing that I want to address about Germany was, in the one country in the world where the motorways are unlimited speed, at certain places we managed to get a speeding ticket. So we were coming off of the unrestricted motorway to head towards Stuttgart after the Nürburgring day. We stayed in the Porsche Design Tower in Stuttgart, which was fantastic by the way. and we were coming around a nice slow corner. Speed was 50 kilometers per hour. It felt really slow. I didn't really understand why it was that slow, but anyway, we were on a blind corner and I was behind a car and Liam was like, oh, why don't you just get round him? So I done it and I went round him and I got flashed with a speed camera. In Germany, the speed cameras sit at the side of the road on blind corners as well, and they flash red in your face to let you know that you've been caught. Now, there's a lot of speculation about the European Union and Brexit and all these things. Maybe I'm not going to hear about that speeding ticket, but it notified me on the camera with a big red flash that we had been caught speeding, and I think I was doing about 70 kilometers per hour in a 50. So just watch out if you're in Germany, you're coming off fast-paced motorways, you're all pumped up, you've been driving at 110, 120 miles per hour on the motorway and you feel invincible. When you're coming into the cities, they take it very seriously, and I think there's a reason for that. They want you to slow down. So I'm still waiting to see if I'm going to hear back about that one. If I do, I'll bring an update onto the channel. Okay, so an early start the next day in Stuttgart. We got up, crack of dawn, and we went to the Mercedes Museum. If you are in Stuttgart, there is an array of different car brand museums. You've got Porsche Museum, you've got Mercedes Museum. Just a short drive away, you've got a Filterbach AMG factory. We decided to go to the overall Mercedes Museum, which was a 10-minute drive from the hotel, and what an experience. Again, another vlog of that one, a full view of the museum, and you can decide for yourself if you want to go. Lewis Hamilton's championship winning F1 car, Indy cars, touring cars, racing cars of all different degree, and the history of Porsche back from, Mercedes back from when they were horse and carts, all the way to today's modern example like the A45S. It was quite nice taking the A45S AMG almost back to its spiritual home. You know, it was built and shipped out from a factory not 20 minutes away from where we were, so I think as a petrolhead and a Mercedes lover, I think that's pretty sick. We left Stuttgart after the Mercedes Museum and we headed for Lake Como. This was a location that we have always wanted to go. Very picturesque, very Instagram, but that's not why we wanted to go. We wanted to drive all the way from Stuttgart in Germany to Lake Como because the drive is phenomenal. We got caught in some traffic on the way out of Stuttgart, which put a bit of a dampener on the day, but boy was it worth it. We went through Germany, Austria, Switzerland and Italy to get to Lake Como. So 4 countries, 1 day. Absolutely excellent. One thing to note though was 4 different motorway types and rules in 4 different countries. You really have to have your head screwed on. You need to do some research when you're going through different countries. The country just changes. There's no border, there's hardly any signs to tell you that you're in a different country, and all of a sudden like that, the motorway rules have changed. So you really, really, really have to be careful and do some research on all of the speeding laws, because let me tell you, some of the police are a lot stricter in some areas. So if you watch the vlog from Stuttgart to Lake Como, you will see that we encountered the most mental mountain pass that I have ever seen in my life. And I'm from Scotland and we have up north and the roads are pretty mad in winter. By God, were we panicking on this mountain pass. We were driving all the way up on the Switzerland side and we drove all the way up, and I thought, we're going to have to come down here. We get to the very top and there's the border for Italy on the top of a snowy mountain in the middle of what they call basically their winter. The way up was okay, the way down was horribly scary. I'm going to cut to a clip now of that mountain pass so you can see what I'm talking about. Honestly, not for the faint of heart. There was people behind us pushing up our arse, trying to get us to go faster. We could not go any faster than what we were going. We didn't know the road. We were on the wrong side of the car. We couldn't see around the corners. It was mental. I'm still reliving how scared I was driving that road. And I don't mean scared like I was going to have to stop and get out and say I'm not going anymore. I just mean I was on the edge of my seat. Liam was on his driving shift. I had the camera. I just let Liam drive and I vlogged the whole thing, and it was a mental experience. The adrenaline that I got was mad. And basically that mountain pass winds all the way down the mountain into Como, which, like, Como's obviously a province. and we stayed in a place called Damaso, which is right on the bank of Lake Como, and it was excellent. The one bit of feedback I do have about driving a short time in Italy, and I'm pretty sure some people are going to agree, Italian drivers are mental. I have never experienced mad driving like this in my life, but again, they seem to know what they're doing. So as long as you drive straight, don't make any erratic decisions or movements, for the most part, they seem to get past you and get on their way. The only unfortunate thing is, usually it's a Fiat Panda from 1980 that's going to crash right into the A45S. I don't even want to know how much it is for a wing mirror or a headlight or a front bumper for an A45S AMG, and I certainly don't want to get mixed up with insurance companies when you're abroad. So it's best to just keep yourself to yourself and try and do your best. But be warned, in these types of places, the drivers have got a bit of a screw loose. I like the cold war tunnels in it. Very nice. So this is us now officially in Switzerland. What a mental border, by the way. Like I was just saying to Liam there, we just cross borders in the UK, like we just drive over them. But this, under tunnels and all that, is fully mental. Martigny. Oh, whoa. So I'm just having a wee bit of fun here, but then I remembered we're in Switzerland and I said in an earlier vlog not to mess about with the Swiss police. Okay, so next morning we got up in Lake Como and we headed to Montreux, which is in Switzerland. So it was a slower couple of days. I'm not going to go too much into the detail. We planned 2 days in the middle of the trip. It was a 10-day long trip from leaving to getting home. So we needed a couple of days in the middle to rest, get some good sleeps, you know, just let the bodies rest. It is a tough time driving all that way. So it was easy driving, no real issues after Lake Como, you know, couple of uphill areas, couple of mountain pass attempts, you'll see that on the vlog. It was really good, just a nice cruise, not too long either. We got to Montreux within about 5 hours. So a pretty light one considering the size of the trip that we were on. Now, we were warned about the Swiss police. They are quite strict. So when you're in Switzerland, just stick to the speed limit is my recommendation. I'm not going to get into any more detail, but certainly stick to the speed limit. It is not worth getting yourself into any serious bother. I have heard horror stories about the Swiss police. Respect the country, respect the people, and just stick to the speed limit. One thing that was quite funny about getting into Switzerland, and we're going to talk about it a bit later in this video money-wise, but the San Bernardino tunnel. I'm going to cut to a clip of the tunnel now. I like the Cold War tunnels in it. Very nice. So look at the fire service and all that, look. It's like look, Pronto, Interview, Premier, it's like mountain rescue stuff. Just check for no photography signs, but I don't see any. There was 2 options, a mountain pass which was closed, or the San Bernardino tunnel which takes you into Italy, into Switzerland. And it takes you in at the top of Switzerland where everyone would imagine that greenery, you know, all the beautiful green where you see in Switzerland. Yeah, beautiful. I'll get to the cost of the San Bernardino tunnel in a minute. Longest tunnel I have ever seen or been in my life. The biggest tunnel that I usually go to is the Clyde tunnel, which is about a minute long. This was fully mental. Hard to believe that these people have actually dug these tunnels underneath the mountains. I would recommend a 2-day respite in the middle of a trip this size. We were knackered. So the 2 days in Switzerland, I'm about to talk about the second day in Switzerland in a minute. were really worthwhile for us. And you know, when we got to the hotel in Montreux, we opened the balcony doors and there was just this unbelievable view of Lake Geneva. I'm going to post a clip of that right now because you have to see it. This was the place where we got our first beer, a couple of glasses of wine, a cocktail, and we chilled out, got a nice meal, went a walk along the front, and just really absorbed what Montreux had to offer and recharged the batteries. This is day 2 now of Switzerland, so Montreux to Geneva. We really wanted to go to Geneva because, you know, there's a lot of money there. You know, you would think there's a lot of supercars there. There's a lot of nice shops. It's the home of the Swiss watch, etc. Just a place that we had on the list that we wanted to go. So it was an easy drive all the way around the side of Lake Geneva. Nothing stressful. Stopped off a few times. Got some photos. Got some videos of the A45. When we got to Geneva, we stayed in Hotel in Lake Geneva, which was a very nice hotel. Very quiet. Nothing really much to report. But we did see a Bugatti Divo on the way from the hotel back into Geneva city centre. Driving on the road, I seen it last minute, clocked it, was like, what is that? Seen that it was a Bugatti Divo, couldn't get the camera out quick enough, guy was gone. So, just shows you the type of money that we're talking about in Geneva if someone is driving up into the suburbs in a Bugatti Divo. I think we all know how rare that car is. So the car scene was pretty good. You'll see some videos if you watch the vlog. You'll see the car scene was pretty good. Porsche 911s, Ferraris. I think we've seen one Lamborghini. I was expecting more Lamborghinis. But yeah, the car scene was fairly good. Because they speak French there's a big language barrier. I tried to go and speak to a few people with the owners of the cars, but it's just difficult to initiate a conversation. A Scottish person in Geneva, try to talk to a French-speaking Swiss person, just difficult, you know. But I did try. We used this as the second day to chill and recharge the batteries. I probably wouldn't rush back to Geneva, you know, like, it was good. Maybe worth a city break with your wife, girlfriend, whatever. But yeah, I probably wouldn't rush back with the car. Definitely an experience, bucket list, ticked off. Right, we're now getting to the best bit of the trip. So the trip from Geneva to Monaco. So this was by far the most amazing drive I have ever been on in my life. And that says a lot again, because I am from Scotland, I am a biker, and I drive and ride my bike all the way around the north of Scotland, and it is pretty good. But the coast of Italy, picking up the French Riviera, along where Monaco is, it is a dream come true for petrolheads. I was flying down the motorways. There was Formula 1 trucks in front of me heading towards Monaco. The weather was amazing. The roads were well maintained. The speed cameras were few and far between, and it was just a fantastic day of excellent driving. We flew down the outside line of the motorways with the cruise control on. I'm going to cut to a clip now of us driving along the waterside. Just amazing. And then coming down into Monaco, you start to feel it right away. You can feel Monaco. You can feel it. You're getting close. You can see the signs. You start to see the yachts parked out in the water. You're just like, I can really feel this place. I was getting this feeling that I'd always thought I would get. So coming down, again, more F1 teams. I'm going to just cut to a clip of the Haas F1 truck. We've seen it as soon as we got to Monaco. There's rich people everywhere. Crazy cars everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there's a Rolls Royce, a Bentley, a Ferrari, a Maserati, a Lamborghini. They're just everywhere. The 488 Pista that we've seen in the Monaco video, unbelievable. And not even old cars, all brand new, the most unbelievable cars. The massive highlight of this whole trip was us getting to take the A45S AMG and effectively drive around the Monaco Formula 1 racetrack. It was so surreal. When I got home and I watched the Formula 1 in Monaco on my TV, I was literally looking at the track and I had just driven my car on it. Unbelievable experience. If you're getting the opportunity to take your car to Monaco, make sure you go around all the corners, make sure you drive the whole track, make sure you stop on the start-finish line, park at P1, cross the finish line, pretend you've won. Why not? It was such a great experience. In the vlog as well, you'll see, I'm going to put another clip of it here, but we see a Pagani Zonda Clique, one of 5 cars in the flesh. Now this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to see this car. It spent most of the day underneath a cover. The valet parking guys were really looking after it, but the cover was off it for 5 minutes and we managed to get a video. Look at the details, man. Horatio Pagani Zonda. This is wild. Seeing one of these in the flesh is crazy. I was honestly a bit of shell shock seeing it. If you're a petrol head like me, full carbon fibre car, Pagani Zonda, one of 5 special edition, unbelievable. So I would absolutely recommend going back to Monaco. I'm already considering going to the F1 next year. I have checked the prices of hotels in Monte Carlo on the F1 weekend. Let's look at a clip of that right now on booking.com. Don't think I'll be paying that. Think we're going to stay in Nice and we'll get the shuttle bus in every day. But just pausing on Monaco before I go on to the next bit. Monaco, honestly, for petrol heads, is a must-do. I get that it's expensive. I get that it's maybe a wee bit posy and a wee bit show-offy. But honestly, what an experience. It is something that you have to do if you're a petrol head. 100% recommend. Okay, so this is going to be the last bit of journey discussion because the way home wasn't great and I'm not going to bore you with all that. The last journey was Monaco through Antibes, Cannes and Saint-Tropez. We stayed in a hotel in Saint-Tropez for the final night of the trip. The most perfect picturesque driving along the French Riviera. Honestly, you look to your right, there's lovely houses. You look above you, there's not a cloud in the sky. And you look to your left, and there is multi-million dollar super yachts in the water and parked alongside. If you're driving slowly along the coast road, it is honestly one of the best drives ever. We stopped off in Antibes just for a short period of time. Nice and chill, we just got out to use the toilet, grabbed a can of juice. Honestly, everyone was just sitting about, chilling, boats, they were working on their boats. It was just a lovely, lovely place to be. We then decided to go to Cannes. We knew that the film festival was on in Cannes, so we knew it was going to be a bit of a difficult one, but we decided to go in anyway. We parked the car in an underground car park, which also was really good, and we ate some of the most fantastic food. Basically in the square at the front of Cannes. It was absolutely lovely. Again, more super yachts, more boats, more people just chilled out. Everyone's like, yeah, tomorrow, mañana, it doesn't matter. A life that I aspire to lead one day. I'm sure you all share that feeling. So it was a nice last stop to end the trip. You know, we got to Saint-Tropez, we ate some of the most, again, amazing food right next to some $300-400 million super yachts that were moored right at the end of Saint-Tropez. Some of the most unbelievable scenes ever. You know, Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Bentleys, everywhere. I'm not rich, you know, I'm just an average guy, right? But I didn't feel out of place. Everyone was really nice, everyone was welcoming, everyone was saying hello. It was a really, really nice place. If you're on the French Riviera, definitely go to Saint-Tropez. You don't have to stay in an expensive hotel. We stayed in a hotel that was 150 quid for the night, and it was super. And taking the A45S down to the super yachts, I'm going to put in a clip now of the A45S next to a super yacht that doesn't even fit on the wide angle lens on the GoPro. Check this A45 against one of the biggest super yachts I've ever seen in my life, man. Unbelievable, what an experience. Right, so that ends everything to do with the trip. I'm sorry it was quite long, but I just wanted to go over the details of the trip. Go back and watch all the vlogs. What we're going to do is we're now going to look at the bit that everyone's conscious of as the costs. Okay, so the costs are split down into a couple of separate sections, right? There was a preparation cost to prepare the car before we went on the trip. So we decided to take a spare tyre. The tyre that's on the A45S is a 245/35 R19 AMG specific bloody tyre. We didn't want to get caught short with a puncture with no tyre and end up missing a few destinations because of that, so we took a spare tyre. So that was £200. We done an oil change on the car before we went. That cost me about £200 for the oil and the labour of a good friend of mine. There's a video on the channel of the car getting an oil change. We bought spare coolant from Mercedes, which was £20. We bought spare oil from Mercedes, which was about £35. We had to buy some high-vis vests, which were £5. And you need to make sure that you've got your French, Swiss, Austrian and German stickers for the car. They're called vignettes and emission stickers. You put them on your windscreen. They're about €5 to €10 each. You either buy them online before you go or you buy them at service stations when you get there. But if you get pulled over by the police and you don't have one on, you can risk a fine of €120, so you have to be careful there. What I'll do at the end is I'll put like a summary of all the costs of the trip. So the cost of fuel then, so this is one that people are going to be interested in, I know that for a fact. So we covered 3,700 miles. The total cost of fuel was €1,560. We had budgeted around £1,200, which works out about €1,400. So we were just over our fuel budget. However, when we got to some of the Petrolhead locations, we'd done lots of extra driving around the place. So I'm going to guess that that's where the extra money was. We're going to go, onto the fuel cost at the petrol stations just now, but I think the kind of fluctuation in fuel cost at different petrol stations was also contributed to the overspend. So the average fuel price in Europe is around €1.85 per litre at your kind of average normal petrol stations in cities. At a service station, prepare to have your pockets emptied. It is about €2.20 to €2.30 per litre. We try to avoid at all costs, but you can't always avoid filling up there, so we did get fleeced a few times. And the price of fuel in Monaco is €2.30 at every petrol station. So I would recommend, if you're going to Monaco, that you fill up outside Monaco and then fill up outside Monaco again on the way out, because it was really expensive. The hotels then, so £1,450 in hotels. The average hotel price across the trip was about £130. Switzerland was slightly dearer for hotels. Gonna guess it's just based on the area and the place, because it was Montreux and Geneva. And Monaco is the most mental hotel price, and I have frequented Ibiza in my time. Monaco was €390 for one night in the Novotel, and this was probably one of the cheapest hotels that we could find. So that drove the average price up a wee bit. So be warned, if you're going to Monaco, I have had some advice from other people that it's better to stay in Nice and get the transport in. Obviously, we wanted to take the car in, so it made sense to stay there. So the hotels, again, £1,450. So food and drink then. So we had budgeted about £700 each, mainly for food and drink, etc. And it lasted us the whole trip. We didn't overspend on it. The average food price, except Monaco, was reasonable. The meal that we had in the Fairmont Hotel in Monaco was €200, so be prepared to pay through the nose when you go to Monaco. Red Bull bill, as you'll see from the videos, was about €500, and service station prices for food did catch us out a little bit, but we had no choice sometimes. Every time we visited a service station, we felt we were spending €25-30 on juice and food. So if you can, definitely some reflection would be, it's best to pack some sandwiches, it's best to get some food at some supermarkets and put it in the car. We could probably have, taken a few €100 off of the price of food if we'd done that. I would recommend getting hotel breakfast as well. It just gets you started in the morning. If you're not leaving too early, get the hotel breakfast. It's usually about €15 to €20, and it normally is pretty good. Liam wasn't enjoying it in most places, but he is a fussy eater. So, hidden costs then. There's always hidden costs to these types of trips, right? One thing that absolutely hit us in the face that we didn't expect was the tolls. France, Italy, Switzerland, tunnels, all these different places that we were in, there was mega toll charges on the motorways. I think we spent about €300 on tolls and tunnels, which is obscene really. There is ways to avoid it by going different routes, but you don't want to put yourself in any danger of an accident or getting a puncture or getting into a crash with another driver or anything like that. So I think it's safe and best to pay it. The motorways are maintained very well, but just prepare an extra couple of €100 for tolls. The obscene parking prices in some of these places, honestly, so some of the underground car parks that we were going into overnight, on top of the price of your hotel, €30. So when you get parking on booking.com, you think it's free, not always. So just, an extra couple of €100 for parking if you want your car to be in a secure location like we were. Just be prepared for that and check it out, do some research, just maybe don't be a fool like I was and assume everything's free, because it's definitely not. The border tunnels, I've just talked about tolls, but the border tunnels were particularly expensive. I think we were about €100 to get through border tunnels. Now, they do get you into the next country quick. They are well maintained. They're a really efficient way of doing things, but they are expensive. So in the few €100 that I suggested for tolls, and that is also the money for border tunnels, because they are expensive. Toilets at services, so every service station charges you to use a toilet, 50 cents, sometimes €1. Now, they are wise to it. There's contactless machines, and the toilets, me and Liam were paying once and jumping through together, just for a bit of a laugh. But, I'm guessing it's a cultural thing over there. Sometimes you just have to pay it. But I would just put an extra €30 or €40 by for getting in and out of toilets at service stations, because when you're driving 400 or 500 miles a day, you definitely need to use the toilet. And then the last thing about hidden costs is general high prices at service stations, right? I talked about it with food. Sometimes a Red Bull was costing us €4.50 per can at a service station. Coffee, €6. Most basic coffee, cappuccino, nothing special about it. So again, try your best to avoid service stations, but if you have to use them, be prepared to pay a little bit more money. Okay, so another interesting bit, I'm sure everyone's going to get on board with this one. So police and speeding rules, right? So France, the French police are strict and scary, so be careful. Liam was actually in the passenger seat of the car and I was in the driver's seat. We got surrounded by police motorbikes. They put their lights and sirens on as if they were going to pull us over and beep the horn, because they thought that the driver was on the phone because Liam was in the passenger seat on his phone. When they realised that I was in the driver's seat and I didn't have a phone in my hand, they just drove off. So just be careful in France. You know, it's quite I've heard bad altercations with French police. Don't take the piss. Just abide by the rules. Italy, never had any issues. We never actually seen any police speeding rules. Fairly simple, 130 kilometres an hour on most motorways. Just stick to the speed limit. Do your usual 10% over. Just be nice and, respect the other road users because they are pretty respectful on motorways. Netherlands, we never had any issues in the Netherlands. It was a short period of time on the motorways. Felt very much like the UK, on and off slip roads, speeds 130 kilometres an hour. Some areas 120, some areas 90. Just be mindful about what you're doing. Belgium, we were only in for a short period of time, but again, very similar to the Netherlands, very similar to Italy. There was nothing really too much going on. Switzerland, very strict in terms of speeding, kilometres an hour, 120 on motorways, and the stories that I've been told, I don't want to have a brush with the Swiss police. Speed cameras are hidden, radar detectors are illegal, so just be very careful when you're driving in Switzerland. I definitely don't want to be standing at the side of the road pleading for my life with a Swiss police officer. I know for a fact if you're doing too much over the speed limit, they can take your car off you and they can arrest you at the side of the road. So just be very careful. Germany, I've already went into it in some detail about the Autobahn, so very limited speed rules on the motorway, very respectful drivers, hardly any police whatsoever. We'd be lucky to count on one hand the amount of police that we've seen. However, we did get caught with the speed camera on the way into Stuttgart, so just be very careful when you're coming off unrestricted motorways into cities. Monaco has 30 kilometres an hour speed limit everywhere. There is some small bits of motorway intersection that are faster, but when you're in the city, you can get away with the odd blip, bang, pop, bang through the tunnel and stuff like that, but I have heard horror stories about people. In the tunnel getting pulled up by the police, so you just have to be very, very careful with that. So all round, no major issues. One speeding ticket, pretty happy with that. We covered, just shy of 4,000 miles. Let's talk about the second last thing, the car, right? So an A45 SAMG, is it the perfect Eurotrip car? Possibly. It's a hot hatch, it's pretty rough, the suspension's pretty stiff. It is an unbelievable car, right? But not for the faint of heart and not for an old back, because the seats in that car obviously are designed for performance. After a few days, your back does get conditioned, but I will say that the seats are not the comfiest. Me and Liam doing 2 hours of driving each made it massively helpful because you're able to get in the passenger seat and have a stretch. But in hindsight, the A45 SAMG performance seats probably not the best Eurotrip seats. Comfort in general of the car though is great, cruise control, adaptive lane assist, you've got speed limit coming up on the dash to let you know where the speed what the speed is, generally the position in the car with the sun visors, ergonomically it's a great car, very, very comfortable. Storage on the car was great, there was only 2 of us. I had a suitcase in the back, the spare tyre with all the stuff inside the spare tyre. Liam kept his bag in the back. You would have seen in the videos that we had a pile of clothes in the back. No storage issues whatsoever. You wouldn't want to do it with 4 people in an A45 AMG. However, for us, the storage space was perfect. The fuel mile per gallon in Germany was awful, was probably getting about 20 miles to the gallon on the Autobahn. However, we were pleasantly surprised when we were driving at 70-75 miles per hour. We were pleasantly surprised. At some points, we were getting around 38 miles per gallon, which is unbelievable for a performance hot hatch with 420 horsepower. Obviously, the party piece of the A45S is the pan roof. So if you're going on a Euro trip, just make sure your car's got a pan roof, because what a feeling popping the pan roof open, sun shining in the pan roof, you know, you're able to see out and you're just flying down the hot motorways and you've got your pan roof open. It is an excellent feature. All you pan roof guys are going to know what I'm talking about. And just overall aspect of fun with the car, it was just an unbelievable car to have there. Pop bangs in tunnels, you know, a hot hatch, people were breaking their necks looking at the car. People were trying to figure out where we were from, reading the registration plate. People literally breaking their necks trying to see the car, see in the car, speak to us. There was just so much attention given to the A45S, and it deserved it, because what a car. What an unbelievable bit of German engineering. Driving 3,700 odd miles without a hitch. You know, engine temperatures never even went above 100 degrees. Car was flawless the whole time, from comfort, sport plus through race mode, dropping gears high up the rev range, popping banging in every tunnel we could find. Man and machine together, an A45S AMG, to me, is just the absolute pinnacle of fun, especially on these different types of roads. So I would absolutely recommend the A45S as a Euro trip car. Okay, so what does the future hold? What does the future hold for this type of content on Dreamscape Automotive? Obviously this channel isn't focused just on Euro trips. It's focused on modifications, it's focused on, you know, reviewing the A45, it's focused on driving on Scotland roads, it's motorbikes, it's all sorts of different things, this channel. But I would like to do a trip to Spain. I think taking the A45S over on the ferry into Spain and going down that section and doing Marbella and taking it over to Ibiza and all that, I think would be great. So maybe that's what the future holds for the A45S. Do we join something like the Cannon Run? I'm going to insert a clip here of Cannon Run's Instagram. They have got a massive, massive thing going there, and you can pay, you can go. You know, it's expensive, but the content that you would get on a trip like that. Do I join something like Cannon Run? Do I get into a car group who are doing rallies? If you watch Daily Driven Exotics, you watch Gumball, you're really interested in these things, do I try and get involved in something like that? I don't know. You tell me in the comments. Or do we start our own rally? What about a Dreamscape Automotive rally and we start small? Start it in Scotland, start it in England, start it in Ireland. Do something for ourselves and the community on this channel. Maybe that's something that we do when the channel starts to grow and get bigger. You can let me know if you'd be interested in that in the comments. Okay, that was a lot. Thank you for the people that have waited with me the whole time to hear the debrief of the trip. The answer is, I would 110% recommend a Euro trip, especially in a hot hatchback or any other type of performance car for that matter. Definitely something fun that you should do. And do you know what? If you get a sore back, you get a sore neck, you're tired, oh well, it's better than having a hangover. And as a petrolhead, it is the most unbelievable thing that you can do. And just two guys, myself and Liam, in the car, talking absolute rubbish the whole time for 10 days, trying to pronounce German words, trying to pronounce French words, trying to pronounce Italian words, trying to pronounce the names in the back of the lorries, and having the best time ever, drinking Red Bulls, location after location, ticking things off the bucket list. Absolutely recommend it. So I'm going to close today's video by asking you to join the journey on Dreamscape Automotive. Please like and subscribe, comment, engage with the videos. We are nowhere near finished. We are just getting started. We've got a whole content plan coming for this summer. The subscribers are growing, the views are growing, and it's all thanks to you guys tuning in to the content. So I hope you enjoyed this long video. I'm going to close that one for now. I'm going to put in at the end here a clip of all of the costs added up together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Dreamscape Automotive.